Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Listen Up podcast. I'm JT, and I'm with
Trapper Barnes.
the man. Hey, guys, we're excited to be back for this episode. In our previous time together, we were talking about the importance of our circles,
Yeah.
and making sure that our circles are helping us achieve the things that or improve the chances of us achieving our goals. And then we talked a little bit about making sure that we're adding value to the circle, always getting better, that 1% that we talk about,
Right.
which leads to today's upism that we will get to as soon as you remind our listeners what is very important for them to do right now.
Well, most important thing is listen up. Listen up podcast, right? So hey, go to our YouTube page, Room for Up, and subscribe so you can get the notifications of when we drop a new one every single time.
Absolutely. That lets us know we have listeners out there so that we can continue doing this and trying to help others while we continue to help ourselves.
Otherwise, we're just listening up to ourselves.
100%. So we talked about adding value. I would imagine for those people that were listening, if they are like us, they immediately look inward and go, wow, those little voices start, I'm not good enough at this, or I'm not good enough at that. And it can be a daunting task to try and add value to the circles that we create. And with that, after the last episode, we were just kind of talking a little bit, and I love this because the upisms, yeah, we've got 300 plus of those bad boys, but sometimes they just create themselves. And so the one that we decided to talk about this episode, I'll let you share that with the group.
It's grow up.
Grow up. Okay, so you mean like I'm immature and I need to grow up?
Maybe.
Maybe.
No. Man, it's about like growing yourself. And then when you start to grow yourself, you can help grow others. John Maxwell says this. The one thing that he wants to do every single time that he meets somebody is to be able to add value to them.
Yeah, and I thought about that quote in our last episode where we were talking about how can we make sure that we're adding value to the circles that we keep. So grow up, grow into the person that you were created to be. And we talked about, I know what's made an impact in my life, what's made an impact in your life. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about the ways that you grow up?
Yeah, there's you can do it in so many different ways, right?
Sure.
But when I think of growing up, it's like growing my intelligence, like growing my mind, making me open up other doors that there's another upism, open up.
Yeah.
Open up other doors that to make me want to like learn more, right?
Yeah.
And
To develop.
Read books. Guys, I hate to read. So what do? I listen to books. And not only that, let me back up. I don't hate to read. I have a mind and a high I personality that I squirrel a lot. And so I can read for 5 minutes and all of a sudden I'm thinking of something else I need to do. So I have to train myself to write something down and get that out of the way, right? So what I would do is I'll download a book on my phone and I'll listen to it whether I'm traveling or just here at the house or going for a walk.
Yeah.
And I can write down things. I'll order the book also, and I'll write in the book or highlight things in the book as I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
It helps me retain it a little bit better.
Absolutely. So in order for us to help ourselves grow up, one of the most powerful things that you can do is read, whether that's from the actual book itself, from an audiobook. I've even heard people talk about they get both.
Yeah.
They get a book and they use it as like a workbook. Yep. And then so they're listening to the audiobook, they're taking notes in the book, they're highlighting things. I love that approach too. I think that's fantastic. What other resources do you use to help you grow up?
Podcast. Okay. Like I really enjoy listening to Ed Mylett.
Okay.
You've heard me talk about him a lot.
Sure.
I loved, we were at a conference last year.
Yes.
You and I were
almost a year ago. Yeah.
Almost a year. Yeah. And first time I've ever seen him, met him in person, like be able to just, his intensity was crazy. And it really made me drive my wanting to learn from him even more. I've always heard about him, but that speech he gave about the power of one more, my gosh, like I'm
I
getting
literally
chills
cried.
right
Yeah,
now.
like when he was talking,
Yeah.
I had tears.
Yeah,
It was that powerful.
it was amazing. So what did I do? Immediately downloaded his book when I got home.
Yeah.
But I love his podcast because it's real life. It's things that just you're like, oh yeah, I've been in that situation. Andy Frisella is a great one. John Maxwell, like
Any of his stuff is outstanding.
any of his stuff.
I'll tell you somebody who I love. I hate to interrupt.
Nope.
But Admiral McCraven.
Make your bed.
Make your bed.
Love it.
That's exactly right. It is. Here's what I love about it, especially for people. And if you guys are listening out there and you're like, I'm not a reader. I haven't read a book since high school. I hadn't either. I try and read that book at least once a year, but here's why. One, it's a great reset. It's a great way to, it's like the Control Alt Delete of mindset and growth, because sometimes you can get so much information, you get analysis paralysis. And I love Make Your Bed because it just kind of resets everything. Each chapter takes about 5 minutes to read, 5 to 10 minutes to read. Most of his books have approximately 10 chapters.
Yeah.
So you got to figure within a week or two, like the most difficult part of reading that book is not wanting to go to the next chapter after you've read, because it's the way it's so well written.
Well, and what I love about his books is they're small.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're easy read.
Yeah.
But they're real life things that you can implement immediately as you finish the first chapter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He provides universal truths that sometimes I think all of us need to be reminded of. One of, I think he's got, and I hope I don't butcher this, but there's a chapter in that book called Sugar Cookies. And the point of it is sometimes life's not fair.
That's right.
And I need to be reminded of that, because sometimes I live in a world where it's, you have a tendency as things are coming at you, fair, unfair, right, wrong, good, bad. But sometimes, like, things that are unfair happen, and it's not what happens that defines me or you or anybody. It's how we respond to it. And that's value that I feel like I can add to any circle that I'm in, that perspective of like, okay.
Yeah.
There's podcasts. You talked about podcasts. There's a video. It's going around on social media, has been for so long. And recently in the last 6 months, I've started using it, that as people bring, and if you're in leadership, and leadership simply means you're in a position of influence, and spoiler alert, we all are.
Mm-hmm.
When people bring situations to you that are less than desirable, Jocko in a podcast he was doing, it was almost intimidating. He leans forward to the mic and goes, "My answer was good." So regardless of what the situation is, Jocko would say, "Good. That means we get to learn. Good. That means we have more time to practice. Good." And so not to not to take his stuff, but like that had a major impact on me. It's like, wait a minute. McCraven says life's not fair. Jocko says that when things happen, regardless of their fairness, it's good. It gives us a chance to grow. Those are all things that, going into those resources, those books, those podcasts, I wasn't thinking about that. And I certainly wasn't sharing it with my circle, but now I am. And those are those things that we call nuggets.
Yeah.
What can you tell our listeners about the importance of nuggets?
Man, those are things that you just kind of put in the back of your mind, because you're going to come across a situation where you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I've been there before. Or someone's telling you a story and you're like, I've experienced that. Hang on, let me go through my little Rolodex and find it. Right.
Yeah.
If nobody knows what a Rolodex is, that's just huge out of us. So.
Well, hey, you just dated us. I'm going to give an example. I want to date us even further. When I think of nuggets, do you remember the video? I know you do, so don't say you know. Do you remember the video game Pac-Man?
Of course.
Okay, well, so in the top left and right corners, bottom left and right corners, you had these little nuggets. And the ghosts were chasing. Life was chasing and was closing in on him. And as soon as he eats that nugget, he's the one that's on the offensive. He's no longer on the defensive. And so
Yeah.
every time we're at a conference or every time we're reading a book or a podcast, like I love those nuggets. If that's the only benefit that comes from that book, that resource, to me, it's worth it because that one nugget can charge you up and take you from the defensive to the offensive.
I'm glad you said that because you made me think about conferences.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things, not to take away from any of the keynote speakers or the breakout sessions, but one of the most powerful things is we talked about our circle is grouping up, networking up, understanding, like learning from other people that have been in the situations that you may be going through today or 6 months from now.
Yeah.
I truly believe those are the most impactful situations that I've been in.
Yeah. So let me pull the curtain back for a little bit. There are several times during the week that Trapper and I are on meetings. We're on meetings together, and we talked about that very thing. And so, like these aren't things we just tell you guys about. These are things that we like. We do this every week, and so I think that's great advice. So. I guess to just kind of summarize our conversation here today, like one, when you're trying to add value to your circle, to any circle, the family circle, professional circle, one of the questions that may be asked is, well, like, how can I get better? And we do that by growing up. We do that by checking out books, checking out podcasts, checking out conferences, and to your point, utilizing the greatest resource any of us have. And those are the people that God's placed in our lives.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take away from podcasts or books or anything like that, but YouTube is an amazing place to go find short clip videos, 5, 10, 15. If you really, like you talked about McRaven.
Yeah.
That's where I got introduced to McRaven. I didn't even know he wrote a book.
Right.
He gave the commencement speech at University of Texas, Go Horns.
Yeah.
And that was something that I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm usually up really, really early. And I saw like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know, James. I think he did it in 2014.
Right.
I probably saw it in 18 or 19. And that was so impactful to me that I went immediately to the office the next day, had a team meeting, shared that with them, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
So
our challenge to the group would be to pick a resource,
Yep.
whatever that might be, something that speaks to you, and then instead of focusing on chapters or episodes, or instead of having that big goal, create a micro goal, and just spend for the next week 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day, allowing yourself to be poured into with the ultimate goal of growing up. That's exactly right. Well, guys, we appreciate you being here for this episode. We look forward to future episodes. Again, as Trapper said, don't forget to subscribe. We need that feedback. That helps us tremendously as we move forward on this journey with you. Also lets us know that we've actually got some people out there listening to us. So, guys, never forget, there's always room for up. We'll see you next time.